And he's like, I used to run 4 minute.
Yeah, do some stuff. Let me warm up for that.
Iron Mike Tyson just reminded the world why his name still echoes like thunder through boxing history, why even now it carries a chill that refuses to fade. Whispers are spilling out of his Las Vegas training camp, and they're not just rumors, they're detonations sending shockwaves through the fight game as we speak. Insiders say a sparring partner didn't just lose a round, he was carried out unconscious, rushed to the hospital after collapsing under the force of a single brutal exchange with the 58-year-old icon. Let that sink in. 58. And somehow the power still feels timeless. But here's where it twists. This didn't happen in some random gym war. It allegedly unfolded while Mike was sharpening his edge for what could become a colossal exhibition collision with Floyd Mayweather, a spectacle big enough to bend the sport back toward the spotlight. Think about that for a second. While the world debates nostalgia and legacy, Tyson might be writing a brand new chapter in real time. And if these reports are even half true, the message is chillingly clear. Whatever version of Iron Mike steps into that ring next won't be there to entertain. He'll be there to remind everyone exactly who he is.
He was when he fought it right. So 4 years later, with 58, he's better than 54. So he saw everything right, everything wrong he did, and he fixed it. This is the beauty of the fight. The energy is good, and his energy is good. So.
If you could have fought any fighter in your life, any weight, any era, who would you have picked that you would have liked to fight the most?
Floyd Mayweather.
I love it. Why?
Huh?
You want to knock him out?
Well, I would love to fight him. I wish he was my weight.
People close to the situation say it wasn't supposed to look anything like this. It was meant to be routine, controlled, almost quiet, just another day inside the gym. The incident, they claim, unfolded during what had been planned as a light, technical sparring session, the kind fighters used to sharpen timing, not settle scores. Mike's team had brought in a younger fighter, early 30s, solid professional background, the type you trust to push the pace without crossing the line, someone there to help Iron Mike drill precise combinations and rehearse tight defensive scenarios. On paper, it was calculated, structured, safe. Insiders describe the opening moments as calm, almost ordinary, both men in headgear, gloves tapping, energy measured, neither pressing too hard. For the first couple of rounds, it looked exactly how it was designed to look. Controlled exchanges, respectful distance, subtle adjustments, a veteran legend refining the details. Nothing dramatic, nothing reckless, just work. But sometimes in boxing, the shift happens in a blink. One small opening, one instinct kicking in, and suddenly a session that was supposed to stay technical turns into something no one in that gym will ever forget.
You! Again, back across. Your heel as soon as I touch your guard, across. Wallace.
But then something shifted in Mike, and everyone in that gym felt it before they even understood it. Sources who were there describe a single moment, a jab from a sparring partner that landed flush on Mike's nose. It wasn't cheap. It wasn't reckless. Just a clean, honest punch thrown in the rhythm of normal sparring. The kind you shake off. The kind you nod at and reset. But this time, it did something else. They say it woke up something buried deep inside Iron Mike, something raw and ancient that nobody in that room was prepared to see. One witness swore you could see it happen in real time, Mike's posture tightening, his eyes sharpening, his breathing changing like a storm rolling in without warning. In a blink, the relaxed technical session evaporated. The air got heavy. And according to someone standing just feet away, it was like a switch flipped inside his mind, dragging him back decades, back to the nights when arenas trembled and opponents folded under pressure. For a split second, age disappeared. Experience turned feral. And the man across from him wasn't sparring a legend anymore. He was standing in front of a version of Mike that history remembers for all the wrong reasons.
Nice one, Mike. Nice one, Mike. Nice one, Mike.
What happened next is where the story stops feeling like sparring and starts feeling like legend. Multiple reports say Mike didn't just respond, he detonated. His hands began to move with intent, not practice intent, but something darker, something that felt personal. Witnesses talk about a combination that landed with such violent precision, the entire gym seemed to freeze mid-breath. You could hear gloves scrape canvas. You could hear shoes stop squeaking. The sparring partner, realizing too late what he'd awakened, reportedly lunged into clinch to smother the storm and by a second to survive. But Mike wasn't offering seconds. Sources say Iron Mike calmly stepped back, carved out a sliver of space, and in that pocket of air unleashed a crushing left hook to the body, the kind that folds ribs, and before gravity could catch up, a savage uppercut followed, snapping upward and lifting the man clean off his feet. He didn't stumble. He dropped. Hard. Really hard. People inside the camp whisper that he was unconscious before his back ever kissed the canvas, and the crack of that uppercut echoed through the building like a gunshot. One insider called it the most vicious thing they'd witnessed in a training gym in years. Then came the silence, thick, paralyzing, before instinct took over and everyone rushed forward, hoping they weren't too late.
Better to the body.
You right, coach?
Mike, tá well? Maybe need 10 seconds. Put 10 seconds there.
Medical staff were already on site, which is standard for any serious training camp, but this time routine turned urgent in seconds. Sources say the moment they realized the sparring partner wasn't responding the way he should, the call for an ambulance went out without hesitation. Reports claim he stayed unconscious for several long, terrifying minutes, and even when his eyes finally opened, there was confusion there, a blankness. He reportedly couldn't piece together what had just happened, couldn't remember the sequence that put him on the floor. That's when the decision was made. No chances, no risks. Get him to the hospital immediately, run the tests, rule out anything that could linger long after the bruises fade. But here's the twist no one expected. People close to Mike's camp say Iron Mike himself looked shaken once the reality settled in. Not angry, not fired up, shaken. Witnesses claim he remained inside the gym long after the ambulance doors closed and the sirens faded, sitting quietly, almost motionless, replaying the exchange over and over in his head. One insider shared that Mike has always understood his power. It built his legend, yet even he seemed caught off guard by how much force still lives in those hands at 58 years old. And that realization might be the most chilling part of all.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The sparring partner's condition quickly became the center of gravity for everyone involved. Early reports said doctors were evaluating him for a possible concussion, keeping him overnight under careful observation while the gym held its breath miles away. Sources later claimed he was cleared to return home, but only with strict orders. No contact training for weeks, no shortcuts, no heroics. One person familiar with the medical assessment admitted the doctors were genuinely stunned that a 58-year-old man could still produce that level of knockout force. And that revelation is what sent real shockwaves through the boxing world. First, it's undeniable proof that Mike Tyson's legendary power hasn't faded quietly into history. Second, it forces an uncomfortable question into the spotlight. What happens if Mike actually steps into a ring with Floyd Mayweather for that rumored exhibition? The stakes suddenly feel less nostalgic and far more dangerous. And third, it's making potential sparring partners think twice, even with good money on the table. Because pride is one thing, consciousness is another. Now shift the lens to the fighters watching all this unfold. Their reactions have been fascinating. Terence Crawford, who's reportedly been assisting Mike as he gears up for the possible Floyd bout, offered insight during a recent interview. Crawford explained that Mike's power isn't something you measure from the outside. It's something you survive. He said watching Tyson punish a heavy bag is impressive, sure, but feeling that force, even during light technical rounds, is a completely different reality altogether.
I don't know what's going to happen with a 135-pounder going up against a 200-pounder. Dude is big. He's not as slow as people think he is, and he can punt.
Shawn Porter didn't stay quiet for long. He jumped on social media with a take that felt less like commentary and more like a warning. Porter said this whole incident only reinforces what he's been preaching for years. Power is the very last thing to leave a fighter. Speed fades. Reflexes slow. But power? That stays lurking. And he reminded everyone that Mike Tyson didn't just have power in his prime. He had nuclear power, even by heavyweight standards, the kind that separated contenders from survivors. Porter leaned into the hypothetical that now has the boxing world buzzing. If Mike can do this to a seasoned professional in his 30s during what was supposed to be controlled sparring, what happens if he lands clean in an actual exhibition? Then he said the name everyone was thinking. Floyd Mayweather Jr. A master technician, yes. A defensive genius, absolutely. But a man who built his entire career in weight classes where power feels different, where punches sting more than they shatter. Porter's point wasn't about disrespect. It was about physics. If even a fraction of that heavyweight force sneaks through, just once, all the skill in the world might not be enough to soften the impact.
Analyze what a fight between Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather could look like, right? So then you think about when Floyd got in the ring with Big Show. We already know, like we know now more than we've ever known before that the WWE is fake. It's kind of like acceptable, but it wouldn't be acceptable in a boxing ring. You know, it wouldn't be acceptable if there becomes some sort of...
Andre Ward saw it differently. During his ESPN breakdown, Ward didn't dismiss the power. He acknowledged it plainly. Yes, he said, Mike still carries something dangerous in those hands. But then he slowed the conversation down. Does this gym incident really translate to what would happen in a fight with Floyd? Ward questioned that leap. He explained that Floyd Mayweather Jr. didn't build a Hall of Fame career on durability alone. He built it on avoidance. His entire defensive system, from a shoulder roll to the foot placement to the microscopic adjustments, is engineered for one purpose: never get hit clean. Ward emphasized the difference between a sparring session and a spotlighted event. In the gym, rhythms are loose. Pride creeps in. Openings appear. But landing a devastating shot on a sparring partner, even a seasoned one, isn't the same as threading that needle against the most defensively gifted fighter the sport has ever seen. Ward's point wasn't to downplay the danger, it was to add perspective. Power only matters if it connects. And against Floyd, connection has always been the rarest commodity in boxing.
Move the way that he did before, you could get a more entertaining fight. You can get more of a back and forth scrap, which is what a lot of people wanted. And it's not a guarantee that this fight goes the distance given these guys' age and where their punch resistance are, where their current punch resistance is, and you don't know.
Timothy Bradley took it a step further on his show, diving straight into the mechanics behind the chaos. Bradley explained that the combination Mike reportedly unleashed, vicious body shot followed by a snapping uppercut, isn't random violence. It's surgical. When executed correctly, he said it's one of the most devastating sequences in all of boxing because the body punch forces the guard to drop for a split second, and that's when the trap closes. He broke down how Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s iconic shoulder roll, as brilliant as it isn't invincible. That defense is built to deflect straight shots and smother predictable attacks, but Bradley noted that a perfectly timed dig to the body can disrupt the rhythm just enough to open a narrow window upstairs. And against someone who throws with heavyweight intent, a narrow window is all it takes. Then Bradley added the twist. If Mike has truly been sharpening that exact sequence under the guidance of Terrence Crawford, a master of angles and timing, this isn't just nostalgia theater. It could be strategy. It could be a calculated weapon designed specifically for Mayweather. And suddenly, what sounded like gym folklore starts to feel like something far more deliberate.
Exhibitions, Mayweather's he's still a killer, man, for real. Yeah, he still got it. So why not share the ring with Terrence Crawford, man? You still got it. I know you can still go those rounds. Yeah, you still work hard too. You still in shape, champ. Get that money, man. That's what you about. Money, Mayweather. Make it happen. Bring it to the
The heavyweight division fighters have been paying close attention, too. Deontay Wilder stepped forward and made it clear that this moment didn't shock him at all, almost like he saw it coming. He said heavyweight power is built different, forged through raw strength and instinct, and reminded everyone that Mike Tyson was one of the most feared punchers the division has ever witnessed. Even at 58, with speed that has faded and reflexes that aren't what they once were, that explosive power still lives deep inside his muscle fibers and bone structure, waiting for the right moment to ignite. Wilder even admitted he'd be more surprised if Mike couldn't hurt someone anymore, as if power, like that, doesn't just disappear. Tyson Fury shared his thoughts during a press conference, and his reaction carried both respect and humor. Fury argued that Tyson still hitting that hard at 58 proves genetics are real, that some fighters are simply born with dynamite in their hands. He joked that he wouldn't spar Mike Tyson for $1 million because no paycheck is worth getting knocked out by a living legend in a session that doesn't even count. David Haye, who understands heavyweight power from experience, broke it down further and explained why this moment matters so much. He pointed out that most fighters lose knockout power as they age because speed drops and force generation declines. But Tyson's power was never just about speed. It was about perfect technique, leverage, timing, and natural strength blended together. Haye suggested that even with reduced speed, Mike's fundamentals and body mechanics are still sharp enough to produce fight-ending power.
Tyson's knocking you out. One of the two. It was never a fight that I can remember where it was Tyson, Tyson's having a trouble, he's having a problem, and he brings it back round. At the moment he started to lose, or it started to get tough, it seemed to...
Now, let's talk about what this means for the potential Floyd Mayweather matchup, because everything that just happened has shifted the way people are looking at that fight. Before this moment grabbed headlines, most analysts were confidently favoring Floyd, pointing to his unmatched boxing IQ, defensive brilliance, and ring control as the clear advantages. It felt like a technical mismatch on paper, almost predictable in how it would play out. But now, after seeing what Mike's power still looks like at this stage, the conversation has changed. There's a new layer of uncertainty creeping in, a real debate about whether that raw knockout threat creates a danger factor Floyd simply can't afford to overlook. Experts who once dismissed the power angle are now reconsidering, asking if one clean shot could alter the entire narrative in an instant. Paulie Malignaggi, who understands Floyd's game better than almost anyone, admitted during a podcast that this sparring incident has made him slightly less confident in his prediction. He made it clear that he still believes Floyd should win comfortably by outboxing Mike, controlling distance, and making him miss punches all night long like he always has. But even as he stood by that technical breakdown, Paulie couldn't ignore the bigger reality. If Mike lands one of those explosive shots he's still capable of throwing, everything changes in a single heartbeat. Mayweather has never been knocked out throughout his legendary career, a record that defines his greatness and defensive mastery. Yet at the same time, he has also never stood across the ring from someone carrying the raw, destructive power that Mike Tyson brings, especially if that power connects clean. That uncertainty alone keeps the debate alive and the tension high.
Still seen, regardless of what you think about his athletic ability and his boxing ability, you still see what happens when he lands a punch on somebody. He's still a strong guy. Mike Tyson is still 58, no matter what you think of him. 58 years old brain. Tyson doesn't have that crazy head movement that he had in his youth. First of all, that's an energy-burning style. At 58 years old, you're not pulling that style off. Tyson didn't even have that style in his mid-30s when he was almost at retirement age.
Stephen A. Smith went off on First Take about the situation, and his reaction carried real concern behind the bold opinions. He argued that this moment exposes just how dangerous a potential Floyd versus Mike matchup could actually be, maybe even more dangerous than people initially realized. Stephen A. pointed out that exhibitions are meant to feel controlled, safer, and built around entertainment rather than true risk. But if Mike is still dropping professional fighters in their prime during sparring sessions, then the obvious question hits harder. What happens if he lands one clean shot on Floyd? That scenario alone forces people to pause. Stephen A. suggested that Floyd may need to seriously reconsider whether stepping into that kind of unpredictable danger is worth it, because one split-second exchange could shift everything and change the legacy conversation forever.
You saw the knee brace on, and you just saw the way he was moving. If you watch Mike Tyson, I mean, think about all the Mike Tyson fights we've seen. Think about the movement, the head movement, the foot movement, etc. And then to see that and to know that he's 31 years older than you, literally approaching 60 years of age, I think to see it in front of his...
Max Kellerman offered a completely different take on the same show, arguing that this incident actually makes the fight more compelling and arguably more necessary from an entertainment standpoint. He explained that boxing fans are drawn to moments like this because they want to see whether Floyd's defensive genius can truly neutralize Mike's raw power, or if Mike can accomplish what no one else ever has and knock out Money Mayweather. Max said the uncertainty is exactly what fuels curiosity and drives people to tune in. Reports then surfaced that betting odds shifted after news of the sparring incident spread, with multiple offshore sportsbooks adjusting their lines and making Mike slightly less of an underdog than before. One bookmaker even claimed they were seeing heavier action coming in on Tyson because bettors are attracted to the knockout threat. The logic is simple. If Mike can hurt a young professional in sparring, then landing clean on Floyd becomes a real possibility. Roy Jones Jr. added his voice to the discussion, speaking from experience after sharing the ring with Mike in an exhibition. Roy admitted that Tyson's power felt real even when both fighters were pulling punches, and there were moments when Mike let his hands go with force that felt genuinely dangerous. He said the sparring story is believable because he has felt that same power firsthand and knows it never truly disappeared. Rafael Garcia, Mike's current trainer, addressed the situation carefully during a gym interview, explaining that sparring incidents happen in boxing and are part of the sport, even when they spark controversy. He emphasized that Mike's power remains sharp thanks to genetics, consistent strength training, and refined punching technique, a combination that keeps him dangerous. Since this incident, the conversation around exhibition rules has intensified. Some are demanding strict limitations on how hard both fighters can throw, arguing safety should come first, while others believe too many restrictions would strip away the authenticity fans want to see. Sources suggest both camps are negotiating safety measures, but neither side wants the event to look staged or overly controlled. Teddy Atlas delivered perhaps the most balanced breakdown of all, acknowledging that Mike still possesses serious power. Impressive yet concerning, but stressing that landing it on Floyd is far more difficult than landing it in sparring. Atlas explained that Floyd would rely on constant movement, sharp distance control, and defensive adjustments to force Mike to miss until fatigue sets in. In his view, the real question isn't whether Mike can knock Floyd out, it's whether he can actually catch him clean. And that's all for now. For the latest updates, biggest moments, and breaking developments in the world of boxing, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay locked in for quality content like this. Until next time, peace.